Hello, I'm Kayla, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about a church that I attended that I will refer to as the church. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about its use of technology. Well, the minute that I walked into this church, I was introduced to my tour guide. Basically, this person would be talking to me and explaining to me what was going on throughout the service. As we began walking to where I would be seated, I realized just how humongous this church really was. It was huge and it was beautiful. So, my tour guide walked me up to the glass doors that were right outside of the sanctuary. Even though I was not inside of the sanctuary, I could still hear what was going on in there because there were TVs right outside of the glass doors that had live video of what was going on inside of the sanctuary. I found that this use of technology was very beneficial. I was a little bit late to the service, but I was able to hear the pastor's short devotional solely because of the live video. The live video is very helpful and is a good use of technology for anyone. The mother with her crying baby who has to step outside for the sanctuary for a minute, or the person who can't stop coughing, the person who is late and does not want to distract from the service and decides to just stay outside of the sanctuary. This is good because people do not have to be inside of the glass doors to be able to experience the service. Just as any technology has its downfalls, so does the live video. For example, I believe that any person would be better off to stay inside of the sanctuary and have a real experience surrounded by the body of believers within that church than to stand outside of the sanctuary and listen and watch it take place on TV. The use of live video could potentially take away the feeling of being a part of the body of believers and experiencing God with them, not only through watching on a TV outside of the doors of the sanctuary, but also through the live video that anyone can watch if they go onto the website. I actually find it interesting that anyone can tune in and watch a church service for this church take place by going online, whether they have been there or not. I know that a lot of churches do this, as a matter of fact mine does. However, I believe that anyone who is not or has not ever been a part of this church would likely be very confused if they tuned in to watch online. I say this for many reasons that I will dive into within the next few minutes. So my point being, the use of the technology of live video has its ups and downs. The next use of technology that this church had was its use of a choir. I was seated up in the loft with the choir. The choir sang and chanted throughout the entire service. This was very distracting to me because a lot of it I did not understand. They were chanting in Greek and singing in Greek. And another confusing part to this was that you had to constantly be following along in a booklet. The booklets were a use of technology that really hindered my participation in the service. The entire service was to be followed along in a booklet that was located in the back of the seat in front of me. As a visitor, I never knew what was going on or where to turn in my book, and on top of that, a lot of sentences or verses that were to be repeated were said in Greek. I really felt like an outsider, especially because everyone that had already been going to the church seemed to know exactly what was going on and didn't need their booklets. So I just kind of sat there a lot of the time confused. A lot of the people that were with me were also very confused and did not know what was going on. So it was a very long service with a lot of Greek reading, a lot of reading from the booklet, and a lot of turning pages, and I never knew what was going on. So I missed out a lot. Another use of technology was the artwork. The artwork in this building was phenomenal and breathtaking. Everywhere you looked, there was some sort of art, whether it be the gold inside of the building or the picture frames with Jesus, or looking up at the ceiling and seeing a ton of glass pieces coming together to make pictures of his disciples or of Jesus himself. That was beautiful. And in the front there was a picture of baby Jesus. These paintings really challenged me to think about why I was there. What all God had done. What all Jesus had done for me to be there. Was I there just because I had to be? Or was I there to bring praise to God? And those paintings really challenged me to do that. So, although there was no use of a worship band, like I'm used to at my church, and that I take part in, leading a worship band, I believe that the artwork was just as important and beneficial. And I believe that it took place of a worship team. because the goal of a worship leader is ultimately to challenge the people to praise God, and that's what the artwork did for me. And I believe that anyone who has ever heard of this church that I went to would know that they're known for their artwork and that it is breathtaking. Some people even go in there just to see the artwork. So that was very, very cool to be able to experience that. Lastly, I want to talk about the use of the church website. Looking at the church website, I found that it was very organized. There were very many tabs that you could choose about events, organizations, calendar, so on and so forth. I was a little confused by the fact that there was a tab for a youth group but not for the children's church, because I did see that there were children within the church and there were programs for the children in the church, but all that I could find was information on the youth. So that was something that was a little off-putting. Not only this, but there are some words on there on the very front page, the home page, that were in Greek. So for any visitor that would be new to this site, I believe that they would be very confused, just as I was. I had no clue what those words were saying, and they were all events. So although it was very cool that right at the front page of the website, anyone could go to any one of these events because they were listed, the time, the place, but no one would know what those events meant unless they understood the Greek. Another interesting thing to this was that the address to the church, you had to click on a tab to find it. It wasn't on the home page. There were pictures of the church, but that was it. So if I could challenge the church to better their use of technology overall, I would say that it would be beneficial to them to put English words alongside of the Greek words that are found in the booklets or on the website. I believe that this would really help any newcomer in the church. Another thing that I believe would be beneficial, but I'm not sure if it would ever happen, just because of how this church runs, would be the use of a projector screen. This could be very bad or it could be very good, because the building is beautiful and I feel as if the projector screen could potentially take away from that. But I believe it would be beneficial, because then people wouldn't have to constantly look down at their books, constantly flip through pages trying to find stuff when they could just put it on the screen. I believe that this would be beneficial to newcomers who didn't know what they were doing, and it would just be nice to have the whole congregation and body of believers looking up opposed to constantly looking down. Overall, my experience at this church was very, very cool. I've never been to any church like it, although there weren't as many new technologies as I'm used to, such as YouTube videos being shown in church or anything like that. It was very refreshing to be there, to experience something new, and to see how this church works differently than mine. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.